Right. Well, we've heard lots of bad news on the Korean economy, and the first question I would like to ask you, Mr. Okuda, is what is the situation in Korea? What's happening with domestic industries, and also are exports finally recovering to give the economy a bit of a boost?
As a general situation, after the introduction of IMF fund to Korea, general situation of Korean economy is getting worse. The introduction of IMF fund results in depreciation of the currency won by about 50% right now. And this was supposed to boost Korean exports. But in the first half of the year, 1998, the increase of exports for the period was only 1%.
That's not very much, is it?
In the domestic industries, the IMF program brought about a big shock in the domestic industries. So major industries such as automobile or semiconductors or iron steel industries were hit considerably. So.
Well, it doesn't look very good, does it? In fact, that seems to be a bit of a common experience in Asia. Whenever the IMF moves in to rescue and help, things seem to be getting worse. In fact, as you know, in Korea, the IMF is called not the International Monetary Fund, but the abbreviation for IM fired. What is the situation of just ordinary people? What's their daily lives? How are they being affected by this? Unemployment seems to be going up quite a lot.
So regarding the employment situation, people used to say, I'm fine, but now people come to say, I'm fine, I'm a father or something like that. Actually, employment situation is also getting worse day by day. The KDI, which is a national research institution, is seeing that the unemployment rate will stay around 7-8% for this year and the next year too. And under this situation, people are cutting down their consumption. Even they are cutting down the consumption on food. But the food is very important in Korean life. And even they are forced to cut down the food expenditure, which is kind of humiliating for them.
That does sound pretty shocking. In this situation, how can the government be very popular? First of all, what is happening with the recent the government of Kim Dae-jung? What are his policies, and how far have these policies proceeded?
In the economic policies, President Kim Dae-jung is planning to take several actions. And the most important one is a measure on chaebol, which is a big conglomerate in the Korean economy, or exchanging main industries of chaebols, which is called a big deal.
These are like the zaibatsu in Japan, isn't it?
Yeah. Zaibatsu is chaebol in Korean language, yeah. That's
and the big deal is, what's the big deal here?
Okay. For example, Korean chaebol has a lot of industries, all the lines. But sometimes one kind of industry, such as automobile industry, is run by several chaebols. And this program, the big deal, is trying to concentrate the companies who is in charge of one industry. This kind of policy has been challenged in 1980s, early 1980s, but they didn't see full success in that time. And again, this similar policy is challenged right now.
So what is going to happen with the big companies? Are they going to break them up and get rid of them, or And how quickly is that going to happen?
Okay, this is a very big program, big program and a big problem too for them. And big conglomerates or chaebol are clinging to have all the line of the industries within them. But now chaebols changed their mind recently to cut down some of the companies they have at hand. So recently the government and big chaebols got together and agreed to proceed that big deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about other policies of the government? Quite early on when the IMF moved in, the government agreed that foreigners can buy virtually anything. In the past they couldn't, particularly land and real estate and banks. Things like that, to open the doors to the foreigners. Is that very popular? And therefore, how popular is the government? Do these reforms actually have the support of the people?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the government was quick in taking action on lifting the bans on land ownership or something like that. But legally, they afford some days for the foreigner to buy Korean assets. But the windows in the government office is not actually ready to proceed a new policy. I hear that the people in the government window doesn't really know what to do. It's FDI procedure. FDI, I mean, it's foreign direct investment. Mm-hmm. And the people in Korea is feeling kind of mixed on the buyout of foreign Korean assets by foreigners. In their heart, they have some resistance that the foreigner buy Korean companies, but at the same time, they think that introduction of foreign direct investment will improve productivity of the Korean economy.
Is that why the government gave in to the IMF demand of allowing foreigners in, or what is the main reason, you think? I mean, why did they change the laws to allow foreign investment?
Okay. Of course, theoretically, FDI, which is a foreign direct investment, is supposed to raise the productivity of an industry. This policy has been widely done in 1980s and the 1990s, but this time, because of the low productivity in the industry, this low productivity led to the introduction of a lot of money. So, raising the productivity of the Korean economy is now very important. So, as a one quick dose for the higher productivity, the Korean government is now proceeding to attract the FDI from these countries.
Well, is there actually foreign money coming in? We saw Michael Jackson on TV buying a ski resort in Korea and things like that. How much foreign money is actually coming in?
Okay, foreign money comes in two channels. One is a stock investment, which is a portfolio investment, and FDI, which is a foreign direct investment. For the first quarter of this year, foreign money flowed into stock market in a very big amount, which was about $5 billion.
Small change.
Yeah, but FDI didn't come in that much, only $1 billion for the first half of the year. Because it is pretty hard for foreigners to buy Korean company because of the disclosure money is not it's not the same as the international standards, so they're seeing, I think.
Right, murky disclosure. We know something about that in Japan. Well, what is in fact the impact of all these things and the crisis in Korea on Japan? What is Japan being hurt by this?
I think there is some impact on Japan. For example, in the Kyushu area, some sightseeing spots like Beppu or Nagasaki accepted the Korean tourists. And Korean tourists are very famous for their big amount of expenditure in those spots. And when I visited Beppu last month, a person in tourist guide's post said, we don't see many Korean people in this year. I think the hotels or that kind of place are hot. And also, Korea imports machinery from Japan. And I hear Japanese machine makers are hard too because of the Korean economic turbulence.
So it seems that overall, perhaps the impact is not hugely negative on Japan.
Yeah, negative, but not really. Not big.
Not such a big one. Well, today we had news about the devaluation of the ruble in Russia. Any major impact expected on Korea?
I think the depreciation of the ruble has some negative impact in Korea. Of course, there will be some negative impact, direct negative impact for Russia-Korea relations, but this is not a major effect. I think Russian devaluation of Russian ruble will affect the international currency market. And if this effect goes to Japanese yen, and the Japanese yen actually devalues, then the valuation of Japanese yen will hurt Korean exports a lot. That is what I'm worried about.
Right. So that would mainly depend on what the yen is going to do, I suppose.
Yeah. So.
Well, what is your forecast for the Korean economy? Where are we heading? What is likely to happen? What do you think?
Now, not many firms is planning to invest, and the people are cutting down their consumption expenditure, and they don't buy houses and so on. And exports is not doing quite well. So the economic growth will not be good too for this year. KDI, which is National Research Institute, is foreseeing that the economic growth rate for this year will go negative. Also, IMF and OECD is seeing negative growth performance for this year.
I see. Is there any chance Korea is going to wrangle out of the IMF deals, because they seem to be a part of the problem?
I think anyway, Korea will manage to get out of this hard situation, but it will take time. One questionnaire released in August 15 showed that it will take almost about 5 years to get out of this situation.
More bad news on Korea in the years to come. Well, thank you very much for answering the question, Mr. Okuda.
Yeah.
Mr. Hiratsuka, can you first of all tell us a little bit about what is actually happening, particularly in the ASEAN countries? Yesterday we talked about Korea. Today we talk more about ASEAN. What's happening in Thailand, Indonesia? I hear that you're planning another business trip. What's the situation on the ground?
And Thailand and the start of current currency crisis, its GDP is contracted by more than 6% in the first half of this year, and the manufacturing production index in May was 70% below of that of last year. And the Thai factory utilize only about 53 or 54% of production capacity.
That's only half.
Yes, and nearly 4,000 Thai companies have closed so far, and 2,000 people on average lose their job every day. And unemployment has amounted to 2.7 million, almost of 10% of total labor force.
That sounds pretty bad. What's the situation in Indonesia? Is it perhaps a bit better there?
Indonesia's situation is worse than Thailand, and the GDP shrank by 12.3% in January to June of this year. And most of industries are highly dependent on imported components, are seriously damaged. Electronics industry is contracted 55%, and the chemical industry and declined by 21%. And the number of workers who have been laid off during current currency crisis has so far reached 15.4 million in last June, and the unemployment rate is estimated to be more than 20%. And the inflation rate in last July rose to nearly 70%, and due to price increase and jobless, and about 15 million people of the country is now living under the poverty line in June.
Well, that is, quite a list of bad news, isn't it? Well, before we talk about why the situation is so bad and what should be done and what's likely to happen, perhaps let's briefly look at the implication of the situation in these ASEAN countries for Japanese companies. There is, in a way, a second Japan outside its borders in Asia, because Japan is producing more abroad than it's exporting, actually. So are the Japanese companies that have factories in Asia and are dealing with Asia, are they perhaps benefiting because the Asian currencies are now cheaper? Are they starting an export drive from Asia? Or are they also suffering together with the Asian companies?
And most of the Japanese company went to Indonesia and Thailand is producing for domestic market purpose, not for export purpose. So almost of them suffer from sluggish of domestic demand. But some companies producing for export purpose are operating at full capacity. It's enjoying very good currency level. And so many Japanese companies are facing difficulty in Thailand and Indonesia and forced to develop export market for survival. And local partner suffering from foreign debt and requesting Japanese side to buy share at higher than market price, and some Japanese is taking over its share. And some Japanese company, and also due to operating loss in Asia, have been bankruptcies.
So we've got some losers among the Japanese companies, but also some winners. What would be a just very rough estimate? I mean, winners and losers, are they 50-50 or?
No, it's, loser is 70, winner is 30.
Right, okay, so it looks bad for Japanese companies as well. Well, the question we're all asking ourselves is, the crisis has really lasted for more than a year in Asia. Why is that? And why aren't the Asian economies not recovering?
First is Thailand and Indonesia hoping export recovery, but despite of a large drop of currency, export in terms of U.S. dollar decreased substantially due to its poor export to Japan, which is decreasing by more than 70% in the first half of this year. So export leading recovery has failed. This is the first reason. And the second reason is ASEAN currencies have dropped very sharply by market over response, and which it increased foreign debt payment in terms of local currency and brought bankruptcy. That is two reasons affecting Thailand and Indonesian economies.
Well, what could be done to get out of the crisis? Some people even say that the IMF and its policies are responsible for the crisis or for making it worse. Is that the case? And what should be done to get out of it?
And anyways, countries under IMF program must respect the IMF program, so must carry its restructuring economic reform, include financial restructuring and relax of regulation of foreign investment and new amendment bankruptcy law. And to exit from the current economic crisis, the first thing the governments have to do is to form a political consensus for the IMF program. So Thailand and Indonesia have to carry the IMF program with a firm resolve. And in Indonesia, in addition, must also guarantee Chinese ethnic their life and asset, so they could return back their flight capital, estimated to more than 10 billion to 20 billion.
Yeah, I suppose the overseas Chinese have become a bit scared with the unrest in some countries like Indonesia. Is there anything the governments in these countries could do in terms of fiscal policies, monetary policies to stimulate the economy?
Yes, now is export is still declining. So under these circumstances, the government relaxed tied to fiscal and monetary policy stance partly, and also is policy coordination. Because many countries are suffering from severe recession in Asia countries. So these countries take policy coordination.
That's right, they're all linked together, so I suppose they have to try to get out of it all together. Well, is there anything in this policy coordination that Japan should do to help Asia?
One of the decline of Japanese import is largely due to its weakening yen. So Japanese government must change the direction of yen is falling. So for that, Japanese government must show vision to people. And Japanese consumer now is cannot draw a brighter picture in future. So Japanese government must restore Japanese consumers' confidence in future.
So if we had a recovery in Japan, we wouldn't just help the Japanese, but well, the whole of Asia. Is that right?
And to Asia,
I mean, Asia would probably quite directly benefit from a recovery in the currency in Japan, the Japanese yen, and also the economy. Well, what is your forecast? What is likely to happen? I mean, we've talked about some of the reasons and some of the for the crisis and some of the necessary policies, but what do you think is actually likely to happen? Is the crisis going to be ended soon? Will they adopt the right policies, or will it last any longer than this?
And the most likely scenario is our outlook is this trend is severe recession will continue for a while, because now is Russia economy is it's falling, and maybe its effect is spread to other Eastern country, and so currency crisis spread to many emerging market economy from Asia now to Russia and Eastern Europe. So under these situations, maybe will hurt the U.S. economy, and so recessions in Asia will be deep and deep toward the end of this year. Otherwise, the Japanese economy and the Japanese yen will restart.
What about next year and the year after? Can we hope for a recovery in Asia?
Many factors uncertain. So, but one of
the future.
one of factor is I think the U.S. economy. But U.S. economy now is enjoying the expansion, and but cannot increase its import next year like this year. this year is increased import so much, so next year it's increased rate
so
of import.
We can't rely on the U.S. to help us. What about Europe and Japan? Can we hope that there will be an increased demand for exports from Asia to help Asia?
It's EC market is maybe it's same direction with U.S. and the Japanese economy. Nowadays, the Japanese government is started to revive the economy, but I think it's they are not. What is the cause of this round of economic crisis in Japan? They don't understand the government political leader. So I think the Japanese recession will continue this year and next year. So in that sense, I see Asian economy is very gloomy. There is only a little hope for recovery from severe recession.
Right, and I suppose other factors could also play into this, the situation in China, Hong Kong. So the whole thing doesn't look very positive, does it?
Yes, and the China economy will grow at 6%, more than 6% this year, and the Taiwan economy and more than 5%. But its growth rate will decline compared to last year, and also its gradually Asian economic crisis will affect on Taiwan and the Chinese economy, and so Chinese economy is just started to deteriorate. So I think the government will maintain the exchange rate of renminbi, but Chinese economy will go down. So in that sense, China and Taiwan only the economy that exit from Asian economic crisis, but will be affected by the Asian economy later half of this year.
Perhaps a final question. Some of our readers might have been wondering about that. Some of our listeners out there. The Mexican crisis, when it happened, was over in virtually no time, and many economists were saying, well, the same thing will happen in Asia, and Asia is actually fundamentally very strong, so we'll get out of this crisis in no time. If you just compare these two and put it very simply, what is the main difference? Why has Asia, the crisis, lasted much longer?
Generally, it is believed in Mexico crisis, U.S. market, expansion to U.S. market, Mexico recover, led by export and foreign direct investment. But the point is, I think Mexico government will conduct the IMF program in earnest. That is a difference between the Mexico and Asia. Asia, start of currency crisis starter is Thailand. Firstly, reluctant to progress IMF program, especially for past financial restructuring law, which is finally passed in last November. So market sees Thailand unwilling to carry the IMF program. So bad drop sharply.
That's right.
And same thing is applied to Indonesia. Indonesia government is carrying IMF program, but we're not in earnest.
I see.
That is the point I think.
Right. And that's the other point is the one you mentioned earlier. Japan is not really expanding its economy. Mexico had a big brother, America booming, and I suppose that helped. Well, thank you very much. It's been we've covered a lot of ground. It's been interesting, and